Hello, everybody. Josh Brown here, back for another great episode on Franchise Euphoria. Well, today's episode is brought to you by IndieFranchiseLaw.com, a leading resource in the franchise space to help you if you're considering buying a franchise, turning your business into a franchise, or growing your business through a licensing or franchise structure. So go on, check it out, IndieFranchiseLaw.com. I think you'll find a lot of valuable and free information as you continue to kind of weigh franchising and licensing and the growth of your business. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's episode. So I just wanted to jump on real quick before we go to the interview today and let you know that this interview was recorded before everything with the coronavirus really sort of hit its peak and everything's been shut down. So the interview you're about to hear is just a regular normal interview like I would do on a weekly basis for the last 7 years. But wanted to give you a heads up that, one of the things that I've been looking at as we've all going through this unprecedented crisis is, what are some additional things that I can do by way of the podcast to try to help out those businesses who are undoubtedly going to be affected, franchise businesses, franchisees, franchisors, and small businesses alike. So starting this Thursday and continuing forward, I'm going to be adding an additional episode each week. So in addition to the regular interview episodes on Tuesdays, there will also be an additional episode on Thursday that'll be a little bit shorter, and it'll be just me going in for 10 or 15 minutes and just talking about things that we can think about, things that we could possibly do, things that we could consider in these uncertain times as business owners. Because after all, we're all going through this together, and hopefully this will help everybody feel a little bit more at ease as they deal with these uncertain times and uncertain future going forward. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this interview. Today on Franchise Euphoria, I'm thrilled to have on William Edmundson. Mr. Edmundson is the Chief Operating Officer of Office Evolution, which is the nation's largest co-working franchisor in the United States. The brand currently has 65 locations open and operating in 24 states across the country, and has nearly 80 deals in various stages of development. Office Evolution's business model is unique because it focuses on serving secondary markets outside major cities, which not only keeps lease prices down, but also serves the forgotten working generation of suburb dwelling independent employers and small business owners. Mr. Edmundson has launched, scaled, and led brands with top-line revenue ranging from $12 million to $3.3 billion, including Hampton Inns, Cambria Suites, Embassy Suites, and Abbey Executive Suites. William is currently the COO of Office Evolution, and in this interview, it's a really interesting dive into the model behind Office Evolution and how they've seen success over the years. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this interview with William Edmundson. Hello, William. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
So I'm excited to have you on today. Obviously, you're the COO of Office Evolution, which is a co-working franchise. This is kind of a unique franchise model. And so we love having unique franchise models on Franchise Euphoria. So thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. And, it's such an exciting industry. And for somebody who's been in franchising since the late 80s, this is one of the most exciting concepts I've ever seen. And it certainly is starting to really take off like a rocket.
I can't wait to talk about the actual concept, but tell me, what have you been doing in franchising since the 80s? Like the different brands you've been involved with?
Well, I like to say I started as a child, but that's not quite right. Started right out of college. I was in the hotel industry. I was working for various brands. I started out with actually at the ad agency for Embassy Suites hotels, and within a year they hired me away. So different franchise brands I worked with include Embassy Suites. I took a promotion and moved to Holiday Inns, then to Homewood Suites, and then Hampton Inns, where I spent the bulk of my franchising career, about 15 years. And I was over all of the franchise support. I was the number 2 in the brand, and actually got to be there as we grew from 200 locations to 1,300. And when
Wow.
I left, we had 850. So No stranger to the industry.
Well, and so you take that sort of background with hotels and other concepts, and what brings you to the office evolution sort of co-working model?
Sure, that's a great question. After the hotel industry, after Hampton, I launched a brand for choice hotels called Cambria, and then the economy went down. And in 2009, financing as we knew it just dried up. And I received a call from a recruiter about a non-franchise company, but it was in this co-working or flexible office space. And I ended up becoming president and CEO of a chain called Abbey Executive Suites, and that really got me into this industry.
Well, I can remember it was right around that time frame when you started seeing, I'm in Indiana and we started seeing those kind of pop up, and it always kind of caught my attention, this idea of having, a space where you can go to an office, but you have all the amenities of a big office space, but you're basically paying for your one office, and you're sharing in the costs, and everybody's sharing the cost. Well, you flash forward now, and it seems like this is such a popular concept all across the country. I mean, you've probably seen explosive growth. I know, not just with your franchise system, but just across the board.
Oh, no question. It's really caught on, and there are a number of reasons for it. You mentioned earlier, for an individual business person, or even for a big company for regional offices, you get all of the positives. You can get your own office, or you can get a meeting room plan, or phone answering, or the ability to use co-working space. Even at the very base of the product offering, somebody could use a professional address, a real building. Like in Houston, I always like to talk about, you could get a Loop 610 address, but you might be a solopreneur. So it adds that credibility. It adds all of the facilities and amenities that you would want, with the meeting rooms, the kitchen, the shared receptionist, all of those kinds of things. And you're paying basically for whatever level package you have, which might be a full office, it might be just receiving your mail there, but you can also pay a la carte for any of the other things that you may need for your business. Great model.
No, it really is. Did you come up with this concept?
No, I wish I could say that I did, but in my previous company, the founder actually was one of the pioneers in the industry. His name's Chris Brown, and I learned a lot from him. And between the franchise background I had from the hotel industry and all of the service oriented things that I learned there, I was able to take this opportunity to come over to Office Evolution and just put all of those same things in place. The service orientation, all of the marketing, all of the guest touch points, but focus in on this industry and the types of members that we have.
So walk us through. I mean, what the actual model, if you're a franchisee and you're a prospective franchisee and you're looking at this type of co-working space, which again I find to be very, very fascinating and intriguing. There are other franchises in that space, and everybody does it a little bit different. I guess one of my first questions is when you come in as a franchisee, are you looking for your franchisees to buy the real estate and build the building, or is this the franchisees are coming in, leasing office space, and then releasing it out to the ultimate tenants?
Office Evolution franchisees are actually leasing space in buildings, and we have a whole process where we help them based on what's made our other franchisees successful, basically taking our formula, and we partner with Cushman Wakefield and help our franchisees narrow down their search and make a decision on where do they want to be. And all of the things that we've learned through our 17 years of being in business really, really help them understand what's going to make my location more successful than somebody else's location.
I mean, you see similar concepts, but they're niche specific. Like you see a lot of the salon franchises that those are essentially co-working spaces for just salon professionals. And you see that in other industries.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is just what's the type of end user tenant that a franchisee would be going after?
So people who are our members tend to be the solopreneurs. That really kind of helps us stand out. We are a suburban model. We're typically between 7 and 11,000 square feet, so it's comfortable, but it's not so big that you're a number. You really are a recognized member. And our members tend to be, like I said, solopreneurs, but people like an attorney, a financial planner. Maybe they're a therapist. Occasionally, we'll have people who are the representative of a big company that just happens to need a single office or a couple of offices. But that's really our sweet spot.
And so when it was started, was the thought of franchising at the very beginning, or how did this get converted into a franchise? What was that
Sure.
process like?
Sure. Mark Hemeter, Office Evolution's founder, actually was in a similar type concept, and he had been working from home and realized he couldn't get his work done with three children, three daughters at various ages, and he decided that he would open the first Office Evolution, and that was in 2003. And after that, he opened additional locations. The success kept driving more, between business people who needed a full time office and people who wanted those virtual offices, or meaning the kinds of packages that would allow them to use meeting rooms or receive their mail or use kind of a drop in co working space. That became popular, and he continued opening additional locations, and in 2012 actually began franchising. So that was the birth of Office Evolution growing into a franchise model.
Well, so he did it for about 9 years before franchising it.
Yeah, and unlike a lot of franchises that you may see out there, we have a proven model that we actually tried as a company. This is before I was there, of course, but we tried it as a company. It worked. We fine-tuned it. We know what the formulas to success are. We really have it figured out. What's the right real estate? What's the right manager? And what is the formula to follow? Those are kind of our three keys to success, along with having a great attitude. And like any really good franchisor, we've continued to learn from what works and learn from what doesn't work. And in fact, we were just ranked number 267 in Entrepreneurs Franchise 500. And it wasn't because we're trying to win an award. It was because we believe we're doing the right things to help our franchisees be successful.
Now, is each location outfitted the same way, or is it based on the geography of where it is located?
Yes, they have the same look and feel. They have signature items, starting with the orange wall behind the front desk, and a special tree that we have memorialized in a painting. That is in all of the locations. There are some variances, like with any brand I've ever worked with. There's some variances from generation to generation, but if you look across the board, you're going to see the same elements. You're going to see the same type of furniture. Our newer locations all have a brand signature carpet. We have highlighted colors that we use in our color palette. So it gives a familiar experience to our members, which is important because they can use any of our locations across the country 24/7. We have a key fob that each member gets, and they're able to do that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it really makes it convenient. It may be something that is a member you may never use, but it's good to know that you have it there. And I liken it to my previous hotel industry career as it's like the hotel swimming pool. You're probably not going to use it, but it's nice to have it there.
That's right. Well, I mean, the type of person that you're looking for, or that Office Evolution is looking for, as sort of the ideal franchisee. I mean, you guys are now in 65 locations. It sounds like your model's a little bit unique in that you sort of are going to secondary markets. So you're not really focused on major cities, which is sort of interesting. I'd love for you to touch on that. But you're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
some of these secondary markets. But then after you touch on that, I'd love to hear who is the ideal type of franchisee candidate that you guys are looking for, experience level, what they bring to the table, what they should expect as a franchisee of the Office Evolution franchise.
Oh, I'd be glad to. I get energized talking about this. It's fun. You mentioned 65 locations. Actually, between the time we sent you the briefing and the time that we're recording this, we actually opened two more locations. So we're now 67 locations, about 80 in various stages of development, and we're operating in 24 states. And I'm glad you brought up the suburban model because that is a key differentiator for us. And we have found, Josh, that the suburban model works really well. There's so much competition in a downtown urban area, and the focus really is different. And those are really not designed to meet the needs of our members. So, as I mentioned, our members tend to be solopreneurs. They tend to be, late 30s and up. Many of them own their own businesses. Not all of them, but many of them are entrepreneurs, just like we are. And the suburban model works great for them. They have that professionalism in their office. They've got a built-in network of people with other businesses, and they really like that. But the real trick is that they like that they can hop in the car and go to their kids' school to see a play or a ball game. They can pop over to the house for lunch. It's easy. It takes a lot of the headache of driving to a CBD out of the central business district out of the mix, and it really is convenient. And what we find is that our members, when they're at work, they tend to be very focused on getting their job done, and when they want to go do something else, they have the ability to do that.
Well, and do you guys have like coffee inside there? Do you have sort of a coffee place? I mean,
Yeah,
so what are some of the amenities that you have in there?
great question. So each Office Evolution location, when you come in, there'll be a reception desk and reception area, and that is where the single employee. We run a single employee model, and it's very important if you have a single employee model to get the employee right. So we are very good about who we hire because they are a combination salesperson, concierge, friend, notary. I mean, they make the coffee. They do all kinds of things. They receive your packages at your business address. All of these things. So that's the first amenity you're going to have is that reception area and the wonderful rock star that we have up front. As you go through the center, you're going to see typically we're going to have two to three, maybe even more at some locations, meeting rooms. And those range in size from being able to host a small meeting to many of our centers have a boardroom that holds 12 or 14, and a few have actual training centers for larger groups. So that's a common amenity. There's a drop-in, or a lot of people call it co-working area, where there may be a combination of high top and low top tables, where there's the ability for people to come in and use a desk or space that's open. There are also some that are reserved in that open area. Beyond that, then we have a kitchen area. It's a shared kitchen. We've got all the coffees and teas and things that anyone could ever want, along with the refrigerator, water, all the glassware, plates, silverware, etc. So it really makes it easy for a member if they want to grab a bite or they just want a cup of coffee to have with one of their clients. It's really easy deal. The other thing we have is we have private offices, and those range in size typically from, maybe 75, 80 square feet to bigger offices that would be more of a traditional office, 150 feet. And then we have what we call team offices, and those may be bigger. And what we're seeing, Josh, is a lot of companies now like to put several of their teams together in what we call a team office. And it's kind of like the co-working version, but it's only the people in your company in that maybe it's a 250 square foot office. So that's becoming very popular as well. So those really are the key items. Oh, I did leave one out, and that is because we also have mail plans and phone answering. There is a call center that answers people's
Oh,
calls.
that's huge.
It,
That's a
oh,
really
absolutely, and that's based in Salt Lake, but we answer calls for our members all across the country. And you can have it where it just goes to your phone, or you can have it where that person does a customized answer for your business. This is Josh, home of the world famous podcast. If that's what you wanted to say, they could do that and screen your calls, and it's really a wonderful function. I actually use that even in our corporate office.
well. So who's the ideal franchisee? I mean, is this somebody who's in real estate? Is this somebody who has another job, and so this is going to be a part time? endeavor once they get it open? Is this a full-time involvement? I mean, who's the ideal franchisee to come into this franchise?
The ideal office evolution candidate really could be a number of folks, but things that things that are common. Typically, it's somebody who has what I call a day job. And when I say day job, I'm talking about maybe it's corporate executives that are seeking retirement or transitions over the next however many years. Could be investors who are looking for a franchise model where they may want to do several of them and continue to build up this recurring revenue stream that we generate not only from the people who have offices with us, but from those virtual office clients, which make up about a third of the revenue that comes in, which is great. It's a great use of your space. Those investors really tend to like the what we call the manage the manager model, which basically means that you've got this one employee who's running your center. They really shine when they are a professional, sales oriented business center manager who the franchisee can empower to run the center day to day. Now, they're supported by our company, Office Evolution Corporate. We're handling all of the billing of every member. I mentioned we've got a call center that is handling the phone answering, and we've got tech support that handles all of the technology platform and the support of that. So investors like that because they can roll up their sleeves and focus on either their day job or doing something else. And the business, once it's up and stabilized, almost runs itself. It's checking in and managing that manager. We do find that there are building owners that are interested in putting a location of Office Evolution in their building because we know how to do it and it's what we do well. And that lets them do what they do well, leasing out entire floors and things like that to other people. And then we do have just various entrepreneurial people that really like the concept so much, or maybe they've had an office in either an Office Evolution, which several of our franchisees now own Office Evolution franchises, or it could even be people who've stayed or have had an office in some of our competitors.
So in addition to the franchise fee, sort of the build out everything for a franchisee who's looking at, one location, it might vary from multi-unit. What's sort of the range of investment
Yeah, detailed numbers are in our
in the
FDD.
FDD? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't get into it a whole lot. It's a pretty big range, but depending on the location and the size and where it is, you could start in the 250, $300,000 range, and it can go on up. I know that we've got franchisees in some markets where maybe it's a bigger location and maybe just the square footage, is a little bit bigger than our current model, and that'll run it up a bit.
Well, I really appreciate William, you coming on and sharing. Like I said, I mean, I'm very intrigued by this model just because I see, in the world that we live in and the increasingly mobile world that we live in, you see a lot of people who are going more towards these co-working spaces. A lot obviously with the solopreneurs, but even people who perhaps have their main office in one part of a city but want to have remote offices around, it becomes a good option for that as
Oh, no
well.
question. As we mentioned earlier, the ability to let's say you're a businessman in Denver. Maybe you're in Louisville, Colorado, a suburb of Denver, where my office is. We've got a center just above us, one of our Office Evolution locations. If you're a financial planner, that allows you to then go visit your clients all over the metropolitan area. So they may go to Denver downtown, they may go to Longmont, Colorado, they may go to Broomfield. It gives them that opportunity where they can travel to their client. I was talking to an attorney earlier, and he doesn't do business in Atlanta very often, but he happened to have a business meeting in Atlanta, and he found out that we have two locations in Atlanta with several more coming, and it allowed him to have kind of that home field advantage when he had a deposition out there. So cool concept.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Well, sounds like, you don't need me wishing you luck. You guys are off to the races, but
Well, we'll take any luck we can get.
I appreciate coming on and sharing about the concept, and I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck going forward. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Office Evolution is fun, and we enjoy talking with you.
Well, and if anybody wants to find out more, they can go to officeevolution.com. Is there any other contact information you want to give out?
Yeah, there's also officeevolutionfranchise.com, which is actually it's a part of officeevolution.com, but that is specifically designed for people who are interested in owning an Office Evolution franchise or learning more about it. We've got all kinds of information there. It talks about really all of the details you would want to know if you were interested in getting to that next step.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much. I look forward to hearing about all your future and continued success.
It was a pleasure talking with you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Franchise Euphoria. If you enjoyed this episode or have enjoyed the podcast in general, I would really appreciate it if you could go to iTunes and leave me a rating and review. It really helps to get this podcast out to more and more people. So the easy way to do it is go to iTunes and in the search box, put in Franchise Euphoria. You will then see my cover art and you click on my smiling face that says Franchise Euphoria and then click on the link that says ratings and reviews. It's that simple, but boy, oh boy, does it mean the world to me when people leave ratings and reviews. And like I said, it really helps get the show out there. Once again, would love it if you would go to iTunes and leave a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode or other episodes of the show. And until the next time, happy franchising.